Yeah, there's a 2-hour delay for most of our area schools, including Indiana area. Rob Heinrich is not on a delay, though. We made him come in anyway. Our visit presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Is there a point in a school year at which you say, oh, come on?
Yeah, that point was a couple weeks ago. I am done with snow and ice. I just, spring needs to get here soon. A lot of early days.
Yeah. Hey, there was a recent conference, the National Certification Program and Conference that happened, and you were there.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
and I'm fascinated when school administrators get into those conversations, because I'm sure that as they do, they're discussing things in a language that is completely different from any language I've ever heard.
It really is. It is fascinating. I'm fortunate enough to be going for my national certification, which would certify me to be a superintendent anywhere in the United States. And that program is part of the National Conference on Education. And so, like you said, it brings all superintendents from all across the country to one location, and we share stories and ideas, and we listen to best practices and speakers from all over the country. And it was really, it's humbling to see some of the scales of some of the other school districts. I was talking to a superintendent that has 28,000 students in his school district, and I just can't wrap my brain around that. And it makes you feel like, man, we really got to get our stuff together. We have 2,800. But then, you'll see that those school districts are facing a lot of the same challenges that we're facing. So it's nice to know that, they're just humans too, and they're going through the same things, like funding shortages. Is a common theme this year. Everybody across the room, didn't matter which room you were in, talked about funding being the number one issue on everybody's mind, and public schools being, I hate to use the word attack, but there's a lot of different threats and different options for parents now that take that funding away from us. And we've talked about some of those things here, and it's everywhere, across the country.
Yeah, and it's interesting because every state treats education funding in its own way. And Pennsylvania's certainly got a lot of problems in the way that it funds its schools, and they're trying to sort all of that out in Harrisburg. Hopefully they are leaning on the advice of people who run the school districts, though, and you being one of them at Indiana area, and those conversations go on. And I know you speak with our legislators.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Joe and Jim do a great job. They're always available to us, and, we make ourselves available to them and their teams. So we have a good relationship. We're always advocating. They probably get really annoyed with us, go knocking on their door all the time, asking for more money. But, we do have to commit to public schools. Public schools are the driving engine to the economy and to, the future work generations. And it's, something that we have to support as a community. We have to just get behind and say, like, this is something that is necessary for our long-term success. In order for Indiana to thrive, we need to have thriving public schools, and that costs money. And that's the same story here as it is in Pittsburgh, as it is in Los Angeles, as it is in Nashville, Tennessee. So when I was talking to people around the country, they all echoed those same things, that we need to have that commitment from the community.
There are certain words and phrases that just become part of the language, and sometimes I think we lose sight of what they really mean. And school choice is one of those. People hear that term, and automatically their brains either go to another place because they don't know what it means and they don't have an interest in it, or they might have a misconception about what it really is and the ramifications it would have on a local level. But it's something that you really have to pay attention to in Pennsylvania.
Oh, absolutely. And that was another hot topic at that national convention. And school choice is essentially having the tax money follow the parents, right? If the parents want to send their child to school A, the tax money goes with them, allotted to that student. They want to go to school B, their tax money goes to that school, which sounds nice because you want to have parents' choice, right? I mean, we're all for 100% for parents having the choice to send their kid to the school they want to send them to. However, what that causes is competition in a system that is built not to be competitive. It's a system that's built to be a commodity. It's a service, almost like a utility, So when you have competition, like in a lot of schools, a lot of states have passed this. Colorado is one of them that passed it recently, and their school districts are competing for kids, and which drives the cost up for everybody. So school choice is something that, personally I would totally agree with. And bring it to Pennsylvania if we can, but we got to do it right. We got to make sure that all the schools follow the same rules. It's kind of like the sports. We have this conversation about boundaryless schools versus
Sure.
the boundaried schools. If everybody follows the same rules and we all follow the same thing, then it's an equal playing field and it's fair. If we don't have the same rules, and the money gets to follow, then we have a problem because it won't be a fair, level playing field, and certain schools and systems will have advantages over others. So, it's just something we got to caution our legislators to pump the brakes and really think about, and before we jump into that school choice pool.
Schools and school districts, of course, will get reputations as high-performing schools or underperforming schools. And if the people at what is perceived to be an underperforming school take their kids, their best and brightest, and send them to an overachieving school or a school that is performing much better by whatever standards, then that poorer school district is going to lose even more by losing its best students, but also by losing the taxes that go along with it.
100%. And it could turn into a death sentence for certain schools in certain situations. And another layer to that would be private schools or charter schools. If we can send our tax money to those schools who don't have to follow the same rules as far as who can attend those schools, what kind of services they have to provide, that becomes a market failure situation there too. So it's a really complex issue. I don't envy the job of the ladies and gentlemen in Harrisburg. They have a tough one, but that issue particularly, they really need to be careful about how they approach it, because I know it's a hot topic in a lot of areas, and we got to be careful.
The private schools, public schools, of course, charter schools, all of that, and that's a money thing too. Because
100%.
Because the public schools are being forced to pay in many cases for the charter schools and the private schools.
That's exactly right. I mean, you've heard me talk about cyber charter schools on this show very, very frequently, and it's one of those things where people think that it's a free service. It's not free. It's your tax money following those students. It comes to our district, and then we send it out to those other cyber schools. And the cyber schools or charter schools, fortunately, most cases have to follow some of the same rules, but they don't have to follow all of the same, 100% of the same rules. So it's a very good example of an unfair system that causes these market failures and puts a strain on the public schools here trying to provide that service and drive the economy and make sure that we're producing citizens who are capable of producing in society.
Get to the spring of the year, and it becomes standardized testing season.
It sure does.
And that is the case right now. Standardized testing is just about here, and it's being done differently in Pennsylvania this year. It's all online?
That's correct. They passed a rule that says that all tests have to be online. Talk about failing schools versus thriving schools. That's how the measure that the state has decided to assess how well schools do is the state testing. They're coming up in April. But we're leading up to that. So everything we're doing now in schools is gearing up for those tests. We do a lot of look at a lot of data. We do a lot of interventions. We reteach, and we break students into groups, and we really work toward their proficiency on those state standards and try to get them to achieve on those tests. So we pour a lot of time and effort into those activities. So it is. It's a stressful thing for our kids sometimes, and we try to relax them. But this year, it's all online. It's a way to save money instead of printing all those tests. So I applaud that move. But it's also an indication of how we're moving forward. As a society here. It used to be pen and paper, and everything was written. Now everything is online, even the standardized tests. So we're going to have third graders taking tests, which can affect the scores. Because their ability to use the machine properly can affect how well they do on the test. So it's new world for a lot of us. Fortunately, here in Indiana, we're a little ahead of the game. We've been doing online testing in the elementary schools now for 3 years. So we saw this coming. We anticipated it, and we put some systems in place to make sure that our kids are a little bit ahead of the curve. So hopefully, we did a good job, and we're out in front again.
Would we be right to say then that scores and rankings would be available much sooner, much quicker?
Hopefully, that's the goal. That's the goal. I mean, we hopefully don't have to wait till October or November to see how our kids did on tests taken in April. So, if we do, the promise is, we get an earlier return on those results. So we're hopefully, in May or June, we'll know how our kids did and how they compared to everybody else in the state.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of years ago, before the AI madness started, we had a visit here in the studio from Walter Schroth, who called one day and he said, "Hey, I need to talk on the air about something that we are beginning to notice is becoming a real factor, and we're going to hear more and more about it." And that was AI in the schools.
Yeah.
And Walter was right there at the front of the line, telling us that there's something coming that we're going to have to deal with, and we'd like to deal with it in the best possible way. It's time now, isn't it?
Oh, it's here. It's here, and I'm sure everybody listening is probably aware of that. So, AI has been around for a long time, right? I mean, we've been talking about AI. Computer programmers have been talking about AI since the 90s, but maybe even before that. But the really open AI, when ChatGPT hit the open market, it really became part of the consciousness of the average person. Now we can play with it and make it do things for us, and it definitely makes us more efficient, but it's also terrifying because you think about the leaps and bounds that it takes, and all of the information that you put in there doesn't just disappear into the ether. It's in there and it's out there. These machines store that, and they use that information that you put in there to become smarter. It really is artificial intelligence. It's learning all the time with every interaction. So however, it is here to stay. And, if you look in the news, it is, the headline of every paper, and it's something that we have to teach the future generations how to deal with. We cannot prepare the students for the future if we teach them like it's the past. So we have to embrace this artificial intelligence revolution that we're going through right now and really do it smartly, thoughtfully.
Yeah.
So we have to, at our school, again, we've had a committee of teachers get together. They worked on an AI rubric, knowing that the students are going to use it. Okay, we want to set some parameters for how they use it. What kind of proper application for AI would exist in this project? So they score it on a scale like phase 1 is you can use AI for research. Phase 2, maybe AI helps you create something. Maybe phase 3 is AI can help you generate the project. And the whole point is to use AI and write prompts that will help you you'll get that final product. Because that's what it's all about, is writing these prompts that help make the machine do what you want it to do and do it thoughtfully, safely, carefully. So it's a new world.
I remember my son, where he teaches, he posted on his door a report that a student had turned in. It was very, very well written. And in the middle of it, the chatbot, whatever it was, had written, "Of course, I am an AI program." So, he highlighted
the
that
poor
for
student
his
got
students.
outed. Huh? Yeah, well, and that's it. And that's one thing, is that the ethical practice that we're trying to teach kids, right? Don't cheat, right? I mean, it is a powerful tool. It's like a lawnmower, right? It makes you more efficient, but it'll take your hand off if you're not careful. So you need to make sure you're using the tool wisely, that you look at how to apply it ethically and appropriately to solve the problem. It is what is going to make us take a leap forward technologically, educationally, everything, but we have to do it safely. So we don't end up in the Terminator situation, where
Just as with a car, a computer is a time machine when you get right down to it.
100% it is. It's absolutely the truth. So we're looking at professional development. We need to get smarter as adults to help the students approach this appropriately. So we're constantly, we have our administrators in classes. The Aaron IU has done a great job providing some training for us. We're working with partners across the region to try to get smarter ourselves so that we can teach kids to use this machine appropriately.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, quickly, we're into the spring sports season. All of a sudden, it began yesterday. The winter sports are wrapping up. Still some basketball to play. And swimming is still going on. Indiana did very well.
As always, you can't, you got to compliment the swim team. Their dominance continues. Coach has just done a great job with the kids. The girls won the Whippeal again. The boys came in a close second. So congratulations to them on the performance that they turned in. Wish them all the best in their upcoming meets. I think they're going to Ohio this weekend, and then they're off to Bucknell next weekend. So good luck to the boys and girls. 18 total swimmers from our Indiana moved on to states. That's impressive. So
and you've got a state baseball championship to defend.
We do indeed. So this is going to shock people as we have a 2-hour delay today, but spring sports started yesterday. So, it's time to, we're looking forward to great seasons from softball, baseball, lacrosse, rugby, tennis, track and field, the whole crew. We expect a strong performance from all those teams. So I'm looking forward to that.
You betcha. And tomorrow we're going to have senior high in here to talk about their theatrical presentation, which will be next week.
That's correct.
And on Thursday we'll have junior high in here. Theirs is coming up this week.
Musical season as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
Junior high Annie is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the high school is next week. I think they're Thursday.
You try to look up their play.
I'm trying to see if they're Thursday through Sunday. They're Thursday through Sunday. They're doing Oliver. Yeah, but so it's one of my favorite things is the musicals. It doesn't matter what kind of kid you are. They all come together, they do a great job, and they all become friends. It's awesome.
They are amazing. Very good. Rob Heinrich, Superintendent, Indiana Area School District. Thanks for the visit.
It's good talking to you, Ton.
It is Indiana in the Morning on WCCS, Westwood One Sports, and then Matt in the newsroom.